Okay, testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh, hello, hello. Mr. Otterson, hello, how are you? Did you get the PDFs? It's something I went over last night a little briefly, but now you have the PDFs. How you doing, Robert? Do we all get the PDFs? I told you, Robert, I was going to put them together. It was late, and I sent them out this morning. You should have them. And there's a couple issues I'd like to talk about with this next lesson. You have the PDFs, correct? You know, we had somebody enter the lesson yesterday and asked me, what's the difference between Adler and Stone? And you were here, Robert, and so were you, Mr. Otterson. So I don't think... I'll tell you, Mr. Otterson, why don't you email me again? You had mentioned to me that you wanted me to change the email, and maybe I'm using the old email. All right, well, they're here. I sent everybody the PDFs. Okay, I can't send them right at this moment because they're on another machine. So, Mr. Otterson, email me again, please. Say, hello, Matt, how are you? Send me the PDFs with your new email address, and I'll add that to my... Well, you should have gotten it. Oh, mercy. All right, I'll try again after the lesson. What I was saying before, we had somebody come in and ask me the question, what's the difference between Adler and Stone? And you two guys were here. So you understand what I said to the gentleman. And there are other people in here, so I really wish that they would get into the chat. But anyway, what upsets me a little bit is, you know, it shouldn't upset me because, you know, I shouldn't care, but I do care because I am an educator. And when I see something that is incorrect, now there's a difference between me not agreeing or just me disagreeing with something that somebody does as opposed to something that is wrong. Now, there is a right and there is a wrong when you're playing music. You have to stay within the parameters of the structure of the tune and maintain your conversation with the other musicians. You know, if you don't do that, you're going to sound terrible. So, in my opinion, that's wrong. Okay, so what I disagree with a lot of times, and everybody, you know, some guys say, man, you're only teaching basics. Well, without basics, you're not going anywhere, period. And let's take care of what is not correct, making it correct, like holding the drumstick, execution, okay? And I teach a total tension-free drumming. And tension creates a lot of issues, a lot of problems. Those problems can turn into carpal tunnel or tendonitis, or you're choking the sound. Now, it's not incorrect to choke a sound if that's what you're trying to do. But if you're doing single strokes and 16th note formation at 200 beats per minute, and there's not too much time to do anything but to execute smoothly and correct. Okay? So we talked about that yesterday. Is there anything that you want me to talk about with that? The Adler, the stone, the molar, all that good stuff, as opposed to the laws of physics? If not, Robert, you were here yesterday, last evening rather, and you see the eighth notes, the 16th notes, and the eighth note triplets. You know what? Let me do this so you get the benefit of the lesson. Just hold on for a second, okay? And let me go to my other computer and email you the PDFs. Okay, I just got an email from you saying you didn't change your email address, so I just sent them. You should be getting them momentarily. Okay, I did send them to quite a few people today. Anyway, what we're going to get involved with, or we're going to continue what I talked about yesterday, the level system and the distance and the speed and the velocity. The speed and velocity, the same thing, and being relaxed. Okay, so what we have, and I'll wait for you to get the PDFs there, Mr. Otterson, if you don't mind there, Robert. Robert, I didn't ask you this yet. Do you play another instrument? Robert, do you play another instrument? My left hand is feeling a little bit better today. Okay, let's get on with the lesson. What I did was I utilized again, you play piano. That puts everything together for me with you. How long have you been playing piano? So you know how to read. I'm assuming if you play piano, you could read. And you understand the mathematics of the rhythms. Okay. Anyway, let's get to the lesson. I started with eighth notes yesterday, and we used the stick control book as a reference. I looked at line 1 and I said, okay, it's right, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if I said, all right, we're going to reference off that line. However, we're only going to reference the right, so we're going to eliminate the lefts. So if you look at line 1, all you're referencing is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now, if I'm playing eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, that's going to be continuous. So I want to put an accent. Now, I'm referencing off line 1. I want to put an accent on the counts of 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, something happens here. Within that exercise, I have two different sounds. I have a accent and a non-accent. And if you notice, my stick was going down, up, down, up. Now that's a natural motion. I'm I'm presenting that, I'm explaining that so you can see it. But if I didn't explain that, you would play that anyway. If you were playing soft, loud, soft, you have to get in position. So it's natural. You get a little kid playing, so tell him, give him one drumstick, say, hit the snare drum. And he's hitting it, say, hit it real soft. He's hitting it real soft. Then you tell him, please, hit one note out of that loud. He naturally will bring the stick up and bring it down and keep it there to maintain that sound. It's just a natural approach. You have to get the PDFs. I sent them to you. Okay. Oh, Lord. Do I have the wrong email addresses here or what? Mr. Otterson, did you get the PDFs? I just sent them. All right, you guys are going to have to wait till after the lesson. I'm sorry. I sent them to everybody. Something must be wrong with the email. Mr. Otterson, you should have the PDFs. Horse, you'll be getting them. You got them. Could you wait 1 minute while I send Robert again and I send Hoist the PDFs? Hold on. So I don't want this lesson to be a waste because it's an important lesson. Well, all lessons are important, but this one, it's a good lesson. Hold on a second. One more. Okay, guys, let me know when you received the PDFs. I sent them out this morning. Well, they should be there now. Mr. Otterson has them. Horst, you're gonna get them You're gonna get them momentarily. Okay. Now hold on a second. Man, this computer world sometimes it's cool, but man, most of the time it's cool, but sometimes it just really sucks. Okay. My point is, what I'm teaching is a natural thing. Now, you say, well, why teach it if it's natural? Well, a lot of people don't realize that it's natural. Okay, so I just demonstrated, like if you asked a little kid to play real soft on a drum and then hit one note loud, he automatically lifted the stick and came back down on the drum louder, and then brought it to the soft position. And that's what you're learning right now. If I asked you to do that, you would do exactly the same thing. However, I'm trying to make you aware of what's occurring. All right, the first line in stick control book is this. I'm just doing this. What I'm doing here is just an eighth note vamp over and over again. You can do it with your left. I can't do it with my left today. I apologize. Now, I'm referencing off the stick control book, page 5, line 1. I'm eliminating all the lefts, and on top of this, what I'm playing, I want to accent the counts of 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, all the rights are accented. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what's occurring is it's a downstroke and it's an upstroke. Now, a lot of people get confused here, and they call that a whip. It's not a whip. I'm taking, well, the first thing you have to know is this. Everything, whatever you play comes from the wrist. The fingers help the wrist, the arm and the shoulder help the wrist, but it all comes from the wrist. So what I'm demonstrating to you right now is down, up. It's coming from the wrist. It's slow, but this is the motion that's coming. Down, up. 2 sounds. Ed, did you get the PDFs? Please tell me yes, because I'm not sending them now. Again. Anyway, we're going down, up, down, up, down, up. That's the first line. So, like I said, you could do that with your left. I'm going to try it with the left, so my left is like out of commission for a couple weeks right now. So I can go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You understand it, but I need to make sure that Mr. Otterson, Mr. Hoist, and Ed understand it. I know that you understand it because of last night. But sort of like revisit this so you understand it a little bit better, okay, Robert? No, not triple fillings. My God, what happened? You're going to have to wait till after the lesson, okay, Ed? What I'm doing, you could understand it without the PDFs, Ed. I'm playing eighth notes. I'm doing it with my right, but you're going to do it both with the right a couple times and then with the left a couple times. So right now I'm exercising how to execute accents. I'm playing eighth notes. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now I'm referencing off line 1 of the stick control book. This is constant. Now, all the rights are going to become accents on top of this eighth note. I'm eliminating the left, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Understand that, Ed? Now, like I said, I could do it with the left hand, but my left hand is not up to where it's supposed to be because of the injury. So I'm going to demonstrate a little slower. It's down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what you want to do, all right, this is from last night's lesson. I'm just reviewing it for the guys that didn't have it. So what I'm doing, if you want to do the first line 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you want to do, add that with the left hand. If you do the right hand for a minute, do the left hand for a minute. If you're going to do 2 minutes with the right, 2 minutes with the left. Equalize the workload. Okay, now we go to line 2, eighth notes. And again, we're referencing off page 5, line 2 this time, all the rights as the accents on top of the eighth notes. So I'm accenting now all the ands. All right, so I have 1 and 2 and. Now listen to the sound. It's constant. Accent, non-accent. Accent, non-accent. Down, up. That's not a whip. That's a wrist motion. As I play it faster, It looks like it's a whip, but it's actually a pump. I'm pumping the right arm into my side just before the downstroke. You don't have time when you're doing something like up tempo, like to do an arm stroke or whatever you want to call it, a whip. That elbow has to come in. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a whip. Agreed? Line 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a little bit of a journey into the levels as well. Let's go to line, everybody understand line 1 and line 2? Yes or no? So we're going to go to line 3, and an additional level comes into view here. Before I go to line 3, do we understand line 1 and line 2? You don't want to play this fast, number 1. You want to play it kind of... You understand it, Mr. Otterson? Hello, who's that? Rory? Rory, get on my mailing list so I can send you, you understand it, Robert, send you my, put you on my mailing list. Here's my email. Email me and I'll put you on. Okay, so now we have line 1 and line 2. We go to line 3, all right? Now you have 2 rights in a row, so that's going to be 2 accents in a row. Okay, so what's going to happen now, we've been using the downstroke and the upstroke. What's going to come into view now is a free stroke or a full stroke. All right, so we have 2 accents, 2 rights. So the first right is accented. 1. I'm in, again, position to nail the and because that's an accent. But I have to leave the and down. And. Why do I leave the and down? Because 2 is going to be a tap. Now the and of 2 is going to be an upstroke. Now if you have the PDFs, you'll see that. It's free stroke, downstroke, tap, up. Free stroke, downstroke, tap, up. Understand? Okay, now we go to line 4. 4, it just moved the accents over to 2 and 4, and you see where the rights fall on 2 and 4 and. So you have line 4 would be 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We understand that, gentlemen? Okay, line 5, there's a couple different issues, so you got to be careful with line 5, so do it real slow. Number 1, you have a downstroke. On the and of 1, you have an upstroke to get in position to nail the up and coming accent. So you have on the count of 2 an accent, and on the count of and of 2 an accent. So 2 has to be a full stroke or a free stroke, and the and has to be a downstroke. Okay, then you have up, it has to be, wait, where am I? Line 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now under the PDFs, if you want the PDFs there, who's that, Rory? Just email me, I'll send them to you, okay? You see I have on line 5 to the right-hand side, the measure on the right, I have a down, which is downstroke, D, downstroke, U, upstroke, F, full stroke, D, downstroke. Next one is an upstroke, downstroke, tap, up. You follow them, you're going to be all right. So that takes care of the 8th note kind of thing. Sometimes when I'm practicing, I'll set the metronome to a certain tempo, and I won't follow any order necessarily. All right, so I'm playing 1, 2, and I'll randomly put accents where I want. see, I'm just randomly doing that. But that's after you understand the concept or the approach, understanding the difference of sound, the free stroke, the downstroke, the upstroke, and the tap. Control strokes is what they're called. Yeah, it sure does. I mean, it's like, you need, for example, if you did line 5, Robert, all right, it helps. You're visualizing it. It's best not to visualize it, but I've been playing 100 years, so I know how it goes. So, I mean, when you're playing 100 years, you will. If I did line 5, you see under the first right, I have a D, which is downstroke, then upstroke, then free stroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, tap, and upstroke. You maintain that for a while. And then from saying that, downstroke, tap, free stroke, or whatever, you revert to, instead of that, you revert to 1 and 2 and then from that point, you get to used to it. From that point, all right, you'll start to develop a little bit of speed. But that's not what we're actually interested in right now. When Alan Herman comes in here, I could take a stick. Okay, and he'll explain this really well. I could take a stick and just drop it. But is that a full stroke? Yeah, it is. But no volume. How come? It just dropped with the weight of the stick. Now, if I want to push the stick, and that's to get a louder volume, it's the force, momentum, speed. I threw it down. It's like this, for example. And one time, actually the first time Alan Herman was here, we talked about this. And he was actually giving a lesson to one of my students. And I was watching, and he demonstrated this, the velocity thing. And he used the wall of my studio. It's funny. He says, well, if you're in a train, and the train collides with the wall, and if you're doing 5 miles an hour, it's just going to kind of bounce off. But if you're hitting that at 100 miles an hour, you got some problems. That's the difference between the 5 miles an hour and 100 miles an hour. The softer, the louder. Okay? Do we understand that? I mean, I can't really explain that as well as Alan. But Alan will definitely help that out, you guys out, because we're going to be talking about the levels. Okay, so now, let's go to the next page. The next page, instead of doing 8th notes now, we're going to do 16th notes. And it's actually the same thing as the 8th notes, but we're doubling the time. So don't attempt this until you really have the first line down. I take the pulse and make it 16ths. 1 E and a 2 E and 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2. Now, accents. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. It's actually the same thing. Let me do a couple lines of 1 and lines of 2. 3 and now line 2, second line. See that? So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. It's just that instead of, the motion is the same as you can see, but this counting and the feel is going to be different. Now we're going to use these a lot, most of them anyway, against the stick control book with the bass drum and right hand on the floor tom-tom and the left hand playing this as a vamping pattern, okay? The one I really want to get it into, is the third page. The third page, we're interpreting, and this is where the levels, you have to be up on top of it all. The third page is a syncopated page, or a jazz feel. Syncopation means to change the feel. So, I look at line 1, which is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I want to play that with a jazz feel or syncopated or swung. So I'm playing the first line of stick control book instead of 1 and 2 and 4 and, I'm playing 1 and 2. Notice my right stick and my left stick, I try to make sound the same. That's the objective, making the right side and left side equalized. That's the primary objective of stick control book. So now, the interpretation is going to be a little bit somewhat different. Instead of playing eighth notes or sixteenths, we're playing triplets. 3 and 4, 1 and 2. So notice how I relax that triplet. I'm not out to prove anything. I'm just playing a triplet to this pulse. Now line 1's telling me, okay, Matt, can you please accent the first note of the triplet? Ah. So I'm accenting 1. The motion is down, tap, up. The first note of the triplet. 3 and the 4 and the. Got that? We go to line 2. The accent now moves over to the does because we're interpreting line 2 as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Line number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we have 1, 2, line 1, 4, 1 and 2 and. Back to 1, 3, 4, 1, 2. It's a good exercise. I could take this onto other journeys, but I think that the 3 different exercises here would help a whole lot. Get you really going on, understanding why the levels are there, what you're doing, which is really natural. We're just reinforcing it. And like I said in the beginning of the lesson, you play like this, but you don't realize it's not broken down. And by it being broken down, you understand what you're doing so you can make it stronger. Okay, line 3. We're going to accent the 1 da and the 3 da. Okay? So we have 1 and da, 2 and, I'm sorry, 1 and da, 2 and da, 3 and da, 4 and 1 and da, 2 and da, 3 and 4 and. Do we understand that? Now, I just mentioned something to you. I'm going to try to do this. I can't guarantee it's going to happen only because my left hand is really bothering me. You know, I've been saying it like an old lady, and I'm using that as an excuse because my left hand is not working the way I want it to work on the drum set. Now, we did learn vamping, the triplet vamps. We did 4 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4 measures right, 4 measures left. Now we could do just the left over and over again. This particular exercise, we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bass drum, heel and toe with the hi-hat 2 and 4. Heel on 1, heel on 3, toe on 2, and 4. Nice and slow. Without an accent. Now I'm going to turn, I'm going to play down the stick control book, all the rights. I'm going to interpret all the rights on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's one way. Now we use the first accented exercise on the left side, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see where we're going with this? You understand it? There's so much to do and so much to write and get down in black and white, so it don't go anywhere except to you. You guys like this kind of stuff? Knock, knock. You have any questions on any of this or any problems? Well, I'm not finished with the lesson yet, Mr. Otters, maybe a couple more minutes. I'm looking so forward to March the 1st because there's a lot of things I'd like to straighten out in the drum community. I'm not a rebel. I'm not I'm on a quest, yeah. The language of drumming and music in general should be universal. Okay? Example, somebody's calling this, I'm going to play it on the hi-hat, a free stroke or a full stroke, that's what it is. When somebody can demonstrate they're playing tension-free drumming and go like this, throw the stick down, open their hand and catch it, that's not tension-free drumming. These are some of the issues I want to straighten out. Or no pain, no gain. That's ridiculous. Or you should by holding the stick real tight, you should have a ball, a muscle over here. That is totally ridiculous. Things like that I want to straighten out. Or it's insulting, what's that? It's insulting to say to another musician, or especially a drummer, because you go in snare, snare, kick, snare, snare, kick, snare, kick. That's insulting. You have to put that into notation, that kind of stuff. Or 10 beats every rock drummer should know. Or every 10 fills every drummer should know. That is totally, totally off the wall. And do you know there's a lot of people making a lot of money giving that information out? And that's very sad. What fill in or fill I should know? I don't know what the music's going to dictate to me at that moment. That's the fill I should know is the one I'm going to play. I don't know what I'm going to play until the moment comes. Period. Okay, be back tonight, 7 p.m. I apologize about last night, changing the lesson from 7 to 8. That might happen one or two more times in the next 2 months. So I really apologize, okay? Any questions? Any problems? Okay. Ed, I'm going to try to get you the PDF. Okay? You're welcome, man. I just really appreciate that, you want to take the journey with me to become better. Thank you, guys. I hope they get better. Okay, I got to sign off. Ed, I'm going to try to send you the PDF, okay? I named it as Accents for Robert, I think. I wrote that last night after the lesson, Robert. Okay, guys. See you tonight, 7.